there! Today we are focusing on the essential question, what stereotypes do we have about scientists? So you were asked to start off by drawing a descriptive, very detailed picture of what you believe a scientist looks like. And we asked you to focus on what the scientist was wearing, what if anything they were holding, what might be around them, and what they're doing in your picture. We're going to come back to those pictures a little bit later on. For the time being, we're going to focus on what stereotypes are. What does that word mean? So I'm going to walk you through a series of exercises. And for this, you're going to need a piece of scrap paper. So I'll give you a moment to grab a sheet of paper you can just write some quick words down on. All right, are we set and ready to go? All right, so I'm going to have you picture a person. And on your notebook paper or your scrap paper, I want you to write down the first image that comes into your mind. So for example, if I said to you, picture a baseball player, what's the first thing that you see? Maybe you picture a hat or a glove, a man, someone in a uniform, okay? Those are images that might pop into your head. So we're going to do that for a series, and while we're doing this, I want you to think about, again, what does that word stereotype mean? All right, let's get started. So the first person I want you to picture is a chef. So close your eyes and picture a chef. What's the first thing that you see? Jot your word down there on your paper. And now I'm going to reveal a picture. And if your image looked anything like this, okay, maybe some of those words were on your paper. Did you picture someone with a tall baker's hat with the chef coat on? Okay. How many of you pictured a chef that looked something like this, though? If you had to guess which one of these is the stereotype, which one would you choose? If you chose the first picture, that is the stereotype. Now, I want you to close your eyes again and picture a farmer. When you're ready, write down the first thing that you see. How many of you pictured a farmer that looks something like this? Holding a pitchfork, wearing overalls, a hat, work boots. Did you picture a farmer that looks something like this? Which one do you think is the stereotype? If you chose picture number 1, you are again correct. Close your eyes and picture a construction worker. What's the first thing that you see? Jot your answer down on your paper. Did you picture someone that looks like this man? Hard hat, work belt, flannel shirt, work boots. Or did you happen to picture someone that looked more like this woman? Which one do you think is the stereotype? Again, it was number 1. Lastly, I want you to picture a cheerleader. Jot down the first thing you see in your image. Does your cheerleader look something like this girl? Pom-poms, a large bow, in a uniform. Does your image look anything like this cheerleader? Which one do you think is the stereotype? All right. Now, based on that little exercise, I want you to think about what the word stereotype means. For each image I asked you to visualize, the first picture I revealed showed a lot of the stereotypes that we have about those particular types of people. So based off of that, how would you define the word stereotype? I'm going to set my timer for a minute and allow you to jot down a definition or some words or phrases that help you to explain the term stereotype. You have 1 minute. All right, time is up. So compare your definition, your ideas that you wrote down, to some of the ideas that I have here on the Smart Notebook. Okay. Did you say that a stereotype in some way or another is sort of like judging all people in a group, but maybe that's only based on a few people? Okay. Do all construction workers wear hard hats? Or is that something we're basing off of what we typically see? Are we grouping people based upon their appearance or their actions? Okay. The cheerleader, she typically wears a skirt or a uniform. Okay. A farmer, often out in a field, hauling hay, riding in a tractor, things like that. Oftentimes, stereotypes are gender biased. What we mean by that is we tend to associate certain stereotypes with males or females. Okay, we typically think of farmers as men or cheerleaders as women. Okay? But the thing about it is they're not always true. Okay? Oftentimes stereotypes are false information. Okay? And that's because they're based off of people's opinions. Okay? Not all cheerleaders are girls. There are lots of male cheerleaders out there. There are lots of women who are farmers. Okay? There are lots of women who are construction workers. Okay? Not all farmers wear overalls. Okay, some of them are in suits. It really depends on their area of expertise. Okay? And we kind of think of a stereotype as what everybody thinks. Okay, not that it is what everybody necessarily thinks, but it's kind of the majority. And that's how we came up with this kind of generalized statement. And that's what we would refer to as a stereotype. So what I want you to do next is you're going to record our class definition onto your notebook paper. This is going to come handy for your assignment at the end. So we're going to define the term stereotype, please write this down, as a common image about a person or group of people that is held by many. I'll read that again. A common image about a person or group of people that is held by many. Again, meaning many people think that, okay, or have that image in their head about that person or that group of people. Now I want you to look back at your drawing of your scientist. And I'm going to give you some categories to kind of think about here. Okay? And what do you think the stereotype is based off of just your own image of a scientist? Okay? So just answer these in your head. Your scientist, did you draw a male or did you draw a female? Is your scientist wearing a lab coat or are they in plain clothes? Does your scientist have funny hair or is he bald? Oftentimes we think of Albert Einstein when we think of scientists and his crazy hair that he had. Or maybe your scientist has some other type of hair. Okay? Is your scientist working inside or outside? Is your scientist white or Caucasian or are they some other ethnicity? Is your scientist wearing glasses or goggles? Or do they have no glasses or eye protection on? The next two are kind of subject to your opinion on what you think these words mean. Does your scientist look a little more nerdy, or do they look more trendy? Is your scientist old, or is your scientist younger? And lastly, is your scientist alone in your picture, or are they working with a team of other people? These are all things I want you to think about, because what you're going to do next is you're going to go back to that discussion board in Schoology, and you're going to look at your classmates' pictures. And I want you to think about these 9 ideas. What are some of the stereotypes you are seeing, some common images that your classmates have about a scientist? Did a lot of your classmates draw males or females? Do they have them in lab clothes or plain clothes? Do they have crazy hair, or is it just normal hair? Are they alone? Are they working with others? I want you to think about these things, and then you're going to use that information to complete today's assignment. I'm going to preview that for you. On Schoology, you're going to download a Microsoft Word document that will allow you to type right into it. And it looks like what you see here on the SmartNotebook file. And in that Freyer diagram, you're going to fill in information on these 4 squares. So in that first box, I want you to redefine the word stereotype. You can use our class definition, or if you thought you had a really great definition to begin with, you can use your definition. That's entirely up to you. In the second box over here, I want you to write down the stereotypes of what scientists do. What actions do we tend to associate with scientists? What do we think they do? Looking back at your classmates' pictures then in this third box, I want you to give examples of stereotypes that you found in your classmates' drawings. Again, were they wearing lab coats? Did they have goggles on? Where were they working? Male or female, things like that. And then in the last box, you're going to put down character traits that you think a good scientist has. You learned about character traits for years now in your language arts classes. When you read books, you look at characters in a story, and you say, oh, that person's brave because they were out sleeping with lions in the wild, or they were scared because every little shadow made them jump or scream, You associate character traits with characters in a book. What character traits do you think a good scientist needs to have to be good at what they do? So you're going to fill in this Freyer diagram on Schoology, and once you're done with it, you're going to submit that to your teacher so we can review your work. All right, great job today.